Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're going to be covering on today's episode of the show. And remember a couple of years ago when it was revealed that Apple may have actually been throttling your old phone? Well, it turns out they were, and now you may actually get paid for it. We'll have the details. Plus, have you ever had concerns about the radiation being emitted from your devices? Well, we'll be joined by Ryan McAhee from Gadget Guard, who has some interesting products to combat that. And if you're looking forward to getting a burrito delivered by a robot, you'll want to hear our discussion with Luke Dormel about the future of Starship technologies and the tech that could make it happen. And as we all know, coronavirus is having an effect on a number of different tech conventions, with threats of cancellation even looming for South by Southwest. We'll be joined by Goldie Chan to discuss it as a whole and the effect it is having on social media marketing world. All that and more coming up on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Hello there, this is Digital Trends Live. Thank you everyone for joining us wherever you're finding us. We appreciate it. And we broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and so much more. All we're broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. I almost did it in one breath. That would have been the first time that happened, and you almost got to witness that. That's why you have to tune in every day to see if it'll happen then. But we've got more to talk about. I'm Greg Nibbler, here with Caleb Dennison.
Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Caleb.
You're looking pretty in pink, or is it mauve today?
I'm not sure. I prefer salmon.
Sure, salmon.
Yeah, we'll go with salmon for that one. Yeah, but thank you.
I've never seen a salmon in the store that looked quite like that.
Wow.
Color.
You're going to make me blush here
It's a
to start the show off, Caleb.
very special salmon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Can't help it.
All right, let's get started talking about tech. And unfortunately, it's the same story we lead with about every day because there's always breaking news, and it has to do with the coronavirus. There is no avoiding it. It is all anyone is talking about right now, clearly. And we can only really focus on the tech side of things. There's naturally a lot more to talk about with it, but focusing on the tech side of things, in particular, the conventions that are getting canceled. So just walking through, there's a huge list. Some notable ones so far, though: MWC, big convention to be canceled, the Geneva Auto Show, F8, the Game Developers Conference, which is essentially canceled or indefinitely postponed. And now we're receiving word about some other ones. Google and Microsoft canceled 2 events that they hold. Google canceled Cloud Next to just do it on the cloud. Microsoft canceled MVP Summit. And now South by Southwest is the next one kind of in the sights. Facebook has dropped out. Twitter has dropped out. And now we're finding out that apparently Intel dropped out.
Moments ago,
this is breaking news.
Breaking news. Intel officially backed out of South by Southwest, which I guess I'm not surprised. I hate to say it, but at this point, with the coronavirus constantly in the news cycle, I'm getting less and less shocked as time goes by about all of these different events getting shut down. And it makes sense. I think everybody wants to prevent the possible spread, and they're doing what they think they need to do to proactively counteract that. Is there real jeopardy there if they were to continue having the event? Well, yeah, at these really large scale ones, I think that there definitely
There's a possibility.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that Intel is backing out of South by Southwest is notable because it carries forth that conversation about these big companies leaving. For the record, I still think that South by Southwest is going to happen. Like, all the bands headed down there for, the entertainment side of this event are definitely still going to be there. So the festival will go on, but it's looking more and more like the tech side that kind of comes into that event is backing down.
Which, I mean, the tech side is great for that as well, but that would kind of bring South by Southwest back to the original roots where it's music. Because you're right, those bands that got booked for that, there is no way they're going to be missing South by Southwest or playing in Austin for that.
And I hate to say it, but I mean, maybe it's not such a bad thing for South by to go back to its original roots.
Yeah.
Because it has gotten really, really bloated. I mean, I don't know if you've been in Austin during that event, but it's out of control. It's nearly impossible to find a place to stay if you don't book like a year or 2 out. So, maybe this will be a nice little change of pace. I'm trying to put a silver lining on the cloud. Yeah, but
yeah, I mean,
it's kind of hard to do.
It is what it is. I mean, the more of these companies that back out, and as we've seen, I think with MWC and some of the other ones, sometimes it's kind of a waterfall of, okay, well, they did it, well, we're going to do it, so what's next? Yeah, South by Southwest is one of those weird ones where it's not I mean, tech is kind of a newer component of it, relatively speaking. A newer component of it. So if that's going to have an effect on the whole event, I think you're right. I think it's still going to go on, but that is a big component. I would expect if Facebook, Intel, Twitter, they've all backed out, then I'm going to guess there's going to be some more. I don't
Yeah,
think it
for
won't be long
sure.
before Google backs out or anything.
This raises the question for me, though, where do we draw the lines? And there are several different lines to be drawn. First of all, how big of an event should it be for you to actively consider just shutting it down?
Yeah.
Are we talking about 500 people coming together, 1,000,
Well,
more?
in Switzerland, the reason that the Geneva Auto Show got shut down is they passed a law where it's anything over 1,000. So
Right.
any gathering over 1,000 is illegal. Right
So
now.
that's where Switzerland is at.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think we have a similar guideline here in the United States.
Yeah.
The other question is, how far out should you be looking? Should we be looking as far out as July? September, October?
I mean, right now the Olympics are certainly being looked at, and they even talked about that. The Olympic Committee, a couple of statements kind of floating out there of the possibility of even delaying it. He said that they technically could, I guess, according to the guidelines, they could delay it till later in the year.
Right.
I don't know what that does for as far as summer games and all of that. I mean, that's a whole other discussion. But I mean, it is something that's being talked about. The Olympics are being talked about. I mean, you have to think about IFA, later on, Germany,
Yep.
And all these other myriad events that go on during the year. It's all piling up.
It is. And that's, I mean, you bring up IFA. That's one of the questions that I'm asking myself right now is, should I go
You
ahead?
go to that,
Yeah, I usually go to that each year. And should I book the tickets? Should I go ahead and possibly have to take a little bit of a financial hit later on because I have to cancel those? I just don't know. I do think, however, that we're in the throes of the situation. This is about as heavy as it's going to get.
You think so?
I'm hoping things will back down. I mean, the Fed just lowered the interest rate by 0.5 point today, which came as a little bit of a shock to a lot of financial experts. So I feel like we're kind of hitting that fever pitch.
I mean, the Fed lowering that rate, what does that do, though, for people who are infected or the dangers of the disease?
It doesn't. I think the idea is that it was supposed to help the economy, but some experts suggest that that really just helps investors. So it's looking at Wall Street instead of the economy, both locally and globally. There are some people that say that was jumping the gun. And the reason I bring that up, because we're not about finance and politics necessarily on this show. The reason I bring that up is because I do think that we are possibly moving into the overreaction stage of things. And I advocate safety at all times, but I do think that, I don't know, one or two things are going to happen. Either this is going to start subsiding because we are anticipating, or it's going to blow up and there's just nothing we can do to stop it.
It's hard to say where it's going to go, but I mean, it's certainly something we can't ignore or talk about here on the show. And I know, we have some other things we want to bring up. There's other news happening beside that, but just to bring that up, one other thing too, and I emphasized this yesterday, is be careful where you're getting your information because there's a lot of false information out there. Steve Wozniak actually posting yesterday insinuating that his wife may have been patient number one. Turns out she just had sinusitis, so not really a big deal, but it's weird that he posted that even, it stirred everybody up for a little while there. Just be careful about what you're posting. Just post, correct information.
Yeah, the mentality about this.
Don't mess that up. Yeah. I mean, people are believing everything they're seeing online. I talked about it yesterday. I had an Uber driver who believed that Microsoft caused coronavirus. That's what he told me, to help lower the world population, and he was serious. Like, that's what's out there. So just be careful about what you're posting. Don't retweet false information. Verify it.
Yeah, I heard that it was the Democrats that did it.
Yeah. Well, they're all lizard people. We all know
Yeah.
that. So that's just a fact, though. All right. So all of this, though, just be careful what you're posting. But that's just an update.
people.
And I know we talked about that for a while, but it's such a big story. Let's get on to some other stuff, though.
Yes.
Continuing on here with Digital Trends Live, let's talk about Apple. Remember a couple of years ago when it was found out that Apple actually was throttling your old phones, throttling what you were able to do, and everybody was like, no, there's no way they would do that. Yeah, they were. And now it turns out they're going to have to possibly pay a pretty big settlement in order to rectify that. So there is a preliminary settlement of up to $500 million that Apple has agreed to pay, and in order to help alleviate some of these different lawsuits that they're facing because of this. So essentially it's this. They said that they were throttling basically anything iPhone 7 or iPhone SE and older, so that's iPhone 6s, iPhone 7s. They were throttling because the updated software, the updated iOS, would drain the battery too quick or cause it to shut off, so they had to throttle what those phones were able to do. But they didn't tell anybody that's what they were doing.
And that was their big mistake, right?
Yeah.
They didn't offer transparency around the issue. They just decided to do something sort of behind the scenes, alter the behavior of the phone so that the battery wasn't overtaxed and it didn't just crash, rather than do what eventually they did after they got called out, which was offer a battery replacement program.
Yep.
That still cost people money.
Still costs money.
It wasn't like that they were actively handing out batteries. And I do understand why. Apple is deploying updated software for its phones, and it has a history of doing that across all of the phones, unless they've completely aged one out. Right. Like you're not getting updates for an iPhone 4 right now. At least I hope not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But they, when they do that, and that software update taxes the chip so much that it causes other problems, overheating, battery issues, or whatever. They have a choice. They can either not give you the update, or they can give you the update and deal with the fallout from that. In this case, it was the batteries that took the hit, and rather than offer battery replacements so that people could keep their phones running for a little while longer, they just decided to alter the phone's behavior. And you know what? I believe they thought they were doing the right thing. I believe that they really thought that this was a compassionate move. And oops, it blew up in their face, and now they're getting called out on the carpet. I am a little disappointed, however, that the real value to most folks is $25. That's what this class action lawsuit, that's what $500 million estimated is going to mean to most people. Now, if you're part of the class, like if you jumped in on that part, you got the mail and you signed up or whatever, you might get more, like $1,500, I think, is the max.
Yeah, and the thing is, like 90 million of it is going to the attorneys, and so once you get everybody jumping in, it's probably not going to be that much per person. But 500 million to Apple, even though that's kind of a drop in the bucket for Apple, at least it's enough of a penalty.
It feels like kind of a slap on the wrist. You know what I mean? Like, you naughty, naughty Apple. Don't do that again, okay, you guys?
Yeah.
They'll do it again.
Right.
I think they'll do something similar again if they have to.
Yeah. They'll bury it somewhere in there, though, where you'll know that it'll be like, nope, we told you.
They'll have
didn't read the fine print.
A legal out.
Yeah, you didn't read it.
I wouldn't be
not our
surprised.
fault. But that is something that is going on right now. So this was disclosed on Friday night. It requires approval from a district judge. So it's still a little ways out, but it does sound like Apple has agreed to the $500 million. So we'll see what goes on with there. But we'll have you up to date with all the information on that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with the news, this is something that actually I just thought was an interesting use of autonomy, autonomous vehicles that I wanted to bring up, and it's something that's taking place at the JFK airport, and it's British Airways that is testing this out, and it's self-driving wheelchairs. So if you ever travel with anybody who has mobility issues, a wheelchair is a big deal. You need somebody to meet them at the gate to get them around. Sometimes it takes a long time. This, though, is a self-driving wheelchair, which in theory, if this works well, I think is actually kind of a cool idea.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that people realize just how much manpower is needed in order to, help people with mobility issues get around the airport. I mean, you've probably seen it. Some service person that works at the airport has to take that person from the moment they arrive through security and then to their ultimate destination. And, that doesn't really allow for them to stop to get snacks. Or use the restroom or whatever else, but that's a person per person that needs assistance on a wheelchair, and of course you have to use the airport's wheelchair at that point as well, which adds further complication. This could save a lot of money.
Yes.
And it could actually be more convenient for the passengers.
Right. And so the way the service works is, you sign up for it. It will take you to your destination autonomously. You can change that at any point, and you can take over control of it, or you can just sit there and let it wheel you around the airport.
Yeah.
Take you to where you need to go. Like if you're like, here's your flight number, it will bring you to the right gate. It will take you to a restaurant if that's where you want to go. Kind of a cool idea, and I like that idea.
I'm kind of curious though, how are they going to manage signing up for these? How do you get one, and how do I, as a perfectly mobile person, get prevented from just grabbing one because it sounds like fun, and I want to be taken for a ride on an autonomous wheelchair?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I don't imagine that they have a ton of these in supply. Let's say this works. They roll the program out.
Right.
They got to prevent people who just want to
abusing them.
You see it at the grocery store all the time.
Oh yeah, the rascals.
Yeah. Rascals, I mean, people are just having fun on the Rascals.
Yep.
They don't need that for mobility. Those things need to be kept for the folks that really need them and find the value.
Very true.
So hopefully they come up with a good program to kind of, restrict the access.
Could be abused easily, but you can take a look at that at digitaltrends.com. We've got one more story to talk about, and then we've got our product of the day. A quick update, though. Jake just sent me a message. Apple has $40 billion cash on hand, so
okay.
$500 million is really going to hurt them.
They'll do all right.
All right, continuing on. The one last thing I wanted to bring up is video game movies. They have usually been terrible. I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Not many of them have ever worked out well. Sonic apparently made a ton of money, but to me, it just is not something I'll ever watch. But there was a poll that was conducted by the Hollywood Reporter and with Morning Consult. And so they did a poll asking U.S. adults what video game character or what video game series would you most like to see a movie of, and the winner was Super Mario Brothers. People want another Super Mario Brothers movie. Do you remember the original Super Mario Brothers movie?
I do not.
I do. It was bad.
Okay, and I'm not surprised to hear that.
It was real bad.
Now, there's two different classifications of bad here. There's just straight up garbage that you wouldn't go near with a 10-foot pole. And then you've got the Sonic kind of bad, which is so incredibly bad that when you walk out of the theater, you're calling up your friends, you're like, oh my gosh, it was terrible. You have to see this.
So it's like The Room of video game movies.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think, also, here's another piece of commentary for you. I don't think people really know what they want. You think that you want a Mario Brothers movie, but you don't, because it's going to be trash. You're going to hate it. It's going to ruin the game for you, and you're going to wish it never existed.
Yeah.
And no Pac-Man either. Do you
Pac-Man was number 2.
Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah.
Do you remember Pac-Man the cartoon?
No, I
back
did
in
not.
the late 80s. Okay, so there was a Pac-Man cartoon back in the mid to late 80s, and it was okay, I guess, but you can just see how a Pac-Man movie would be terrible.
Yeah.
They mix CGI with live action. Is it all CGI? Is it animated? Like, they would screw it up.
I think you're right. People don't know what they want. They put Pong as one, Minecraft as one. I mean, who are these people? Who are they that are voting on this? They clearly have no idea what they're doing. Red Dead Redemption, that I could see as a movie. Legend of Zelda,
yeah,
okay, maybe.
Maybe. If you did it right. I mean,
but no. Mario Kart, no. No.
No, that's no.
Sorry, Internet. That's just not going to work out.
I feel like we got lucky with Tron.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And that we should really not press our luck any further.
I agree completely. And I know we're out of time to talk about this. We should do a whole show just about that. But,
oh, sure.
But there you go. You can leave your opinion at digitaltrends.com.
Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's now time for the product of the day.
Oh, am I excited about this one, because this is something you truly need to get. What do I have right here? Well, I have the Midland GXT 1000 VP4 50 channel GMRS two-way radio. They're walkie-talkies. Forget about all that lingo. This is what they are. These are walkie-talkies that are badass. Now, here's what I've got. I've got a charger here. I've got a rechargeable battery. You can use regular batteries with these things. You've got a 36-mile range. They're waterproof. And let me just tell you, right now you're probably looking at this, taking a look at that demo and thinking, wow, those guys are cool. I don't know why they're playing Army Man right there, but that's still, it's pretty cool. So right there, you're out in the wilderness like, oh man, I lost my buddy. What do? Ding, ding, call them up right here with your Midland walkie-talkie. 50 different channels. So if anybody's trying to listen in on your conversation, you can switch it up. You can change it around. But this is how we actually communicate here at the studio. Let me just test this out right now. So our production booth is back there. We all have code names for each other, so just to make sure about that. I'm just going to demonstrate how this works. Hey there, this is Rusty Buckshot. Can I get Sassy Cat on the line, please?
Hey, this is Sassy Cat coming up on Tallahassee. How about you say we meet at the Waffle House?
Sounds good, buddy. I'll see you right after the show. 10-4, Roger Dodger, I'm out. See, it's just that simple. This is how these things work. They also come with headsets, so you can look extra cool when you're walking around. I mean, who needs a cell phone when you can have one of these? There are so many activities you can participate in with a walkie-talkie. And that is what I'm talking about right here. So I want to make sure everybody can see this. Here, just to throw out some of the other things there. Look. Boom. You want a car charger or something? Yeah, that's there. You got a regular charger. Boom. That's there. Here's another thing. This all comes with this. This is how badass these are. You need this. It's $69.99. Click on the link right below. I'm going to do it too. And then, call me up. All right.
You forgot the belt clip.
Oh, the belt clip.
Best
I did
part of
forget
this
the belt
thing
clip.
is the freaking belt clip, so you can latch it on your side
You're
and
right.
look
That
really
is a
badass.
true point. I did forget about that. There's just
Otherwise, great job.
there's so much awesomeness. It was hard for me to get it all into one.
You make jokes, but I freaking love walkie-talkies,
do
man.
too.
I use them with my kids. I use them with my buddies. You take road trips. You
Yep.
know, one of them's driving the U-Haul, one of them's driving the car. You can just go back and forth.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Takes you back to the old CB days.
Talk to truckers.
Yep.
All right. Well, this is that surprise of the day. I know we need to get to a break because we've got Read 'em and Weep. Caleb, would you like to do some Read 'em?
Oh, you know I would.
Oh, yes, he would. All right, so we're going to do that. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Sassy Cat, go ahead and go to break now. Well, hello there. This is Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. It is now time for some Read 'em and Weep. This is where we read some of the comments that are trending across the internet and maybe directed to us. I'm Greg Nibbler, here with Caleb Dennis. And Caleb,
Favorite part of the day. You bet I'm prepared.
he is more than prepared. Bring it on, internet.
Bring
All
it.
right, let's take a look here. Let's see what the internet does have to say today. We never know. Purell hand sanitizer currently selling on Amazon for over $300. Coronavirus Seattle. That is true. It is crazy how expensive it's getting on there.
Yeah, that and face masks, which,
Yes.
by the way, protect the people around you, but don't protect you at all.
No.
Stop it with the face masks, please. But I heard that Amazon actually pulled like a ton of products that claim to help with the coronavirus or
That
cure
we're
the-
overcharging, yeah.
Yeah, so fortunately Amazon is on the case and trying to prevent some of this price gouging, but I mean, it was bound to happen.
We'll have to see where it all ends up. I do have a big liter size thing of hand sanitizer on those, so I can sell that if that's what he wants. All right.
Ooh.
2, regard Real ID. Watch this before you fly in 2020. The deets. Why go through the hassle of making a whole new system while you can just require everyone to have a passport? Okay. Yeah, well, I can't require somebody to have a passport, I don't think.
No, you
That's
can't.
a federal thing.
Also, the process it takes to get a passport is involved, and there are some people who may actually not qualify to get a passport. Also, our ID system is just antiquated, and it needed an overhaul anyway. We've actually had guests on DT Live that have had a lot of interesting things to say about how the forgeability of these things needs to go down. It needs to be universal.
Yeah, identity theft. That's a big issue.
And some more at-a-glance stuff so that you can actually speed people through the process. Also, one thing I don't think people realize is that the process, you don't even have to carry your boarding pass with you anymore when you're going through security at a lot of places. If you have an ID that works, they just scan it and you're through. That's it. It associates your so I think there's a lot of great reasons to update our ID system. Sorry.
Take a look at that. It's on the deets, and you can leave your comment too. And you're wrong. Caleb said you're wrong. Gail, at Family Food Life, hashtag soup It Forward Day is a day I can get behind. Today is the inaugural National Soup It Forward Day, launched by Soup Sisters to spread warmth and kindness by the bowlful to those who might need a little pick-me-up for the past 9 years. Okay, I like that idea. I don't like stranger soup. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that.
You don't like soup prepared by other people?
I like soup prepared by other people, but I don't know about this Soup Forward Day. If some random, or Soup It Forward Day, if some random person walks up and says, hey, here's a bowl of soup. I don't know if I
see
trust
what
that.
you're saying.
Stranger food.
Stranger danger.
Stranger
Don't
danger.
eat the soup.
Stranger soup
I
is
get
not,
it.
that's something you got to be careful with. So,
Yeah.
nice idea. Make sure you know the person you're giving the soup to.
Yeah, in this day and age, I don't think you can just walk up to a stranger and hand them anything at all.
I'm not eating
Let
soup.
alone a, lobster bisque or clam chowder.
Have a little bit of soup from me. Okay, yeah.
So
no,
what
that's
if you give it to a lactose intolerant person and it's all full of cream?
See?
How do they say no without offending you? This
Yeah,
is
100%.
all loaded
I'm
with all
already
kinds of problems.
so anxious, and nothing has happened to me at all. All right, Michael Manuel and Pofo, verdict: Pixel is still the gold standard for mobile photography. It doesn't matter what you think. And so that is talking about the the Galaxy S20 Ultra versus iPhone 11 Pro versus Pixel 4. Okay. So this is Michael Manuel. Was this Corey? I'm assuming.
Yeah, Corey did a
Yeah.
camera comparison between those phones. Originally, it was just going to be the Samsung S20 Ultra versus the iPhone, but we had to throw the Pixel in there
Yeah.
because it needed to be part of the conversation.
For
so,
sure.
yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Pixel does it mostly with processing. Samsung's trying to increase the quality of its optics. Have your opinion on YouTube. That's fine.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Wrong. You're wrong.
I'm not going to say he's wrong in this.
No,
case.
no, this person
I
was
would
saying.
if I really thought that they were wrong.
Bryce, talking about that video, are we not going to talk about how lit his hair looks? Yeah, Corey's got some good hair.
Yep,
He
he's got the
does.
hair rocking, baby.
He does. I mean, there's no denying that. Bryce, you are correct. That is a discussion that does need to be had. So, yeah, we agree. All right, Thomas, is this the coronavirus personified? I'm not sure what the reference is.
Out of context,
Okay.
that's hard to figure out. Oh,
Is
there
that
we go.
Riley? That is Riley,
That
isn't
is
it?
Riley.
Oh,
That-
wow.
That looks like a TikTok video.
Oh, this is what they almost got kicked out for the other day. Okay.
What?
Now I'm starting to understand. All right. Yeah, that's actually Riley. What are those, and did he get them all into his mouth? I mean, honestly, I'm impressed. I'm not even mad. Those were
something-
gummy bears.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Those look
Off
like-
of a dirty treadmill.
Yikes.
Oh,
What are
wow.
we doing here?
Well, that's Riley. He goes all out for these
Yeah.
things, you know?
Okay.
That's why you. That's.
The answer to your question is yes. That is
Yeah.
coronavirus.
That's how you get
personified.
it. That's 100%. That's what that video was actually all about, I'm pretty sure. All right, that is Read 'em and Weep, where we take a look at some of the comments from across the internet. I've got to watch that now. Caleb, thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't weep as much as I'd hoped to, but
No.
I would say it's still a mighty fine day.
There's still a lot of day left to get a good cry in.
Yep, I'll get it in. One
So
way or
we'll
the
see if we
other.
can make that happen. No, that's a terrible thing to say. All right, coming up next, we've got Ryan McAhee, who's the CTO for Penumbra Brands, and what they have is something that called Gadget Guard that is for your mobile phones or devices to protect against radiation. So we're going to talk to him about what those do, how that all works. That's coming up next. We've got a lot to talk about in this show. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Share it right now. Whatever platform you're on, just hit share it. Join the show for the rest of it. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you everyone for joining us wherever you are. We do appreciate it. We get to have lots of discussions about technology here on the show and interviews. We're going to do both of those right now. Joining us, we have Ryan McAhee, who is the CTO for Penumbra Brands. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on, Greg.
So I want to give everybody kind of an explanation and a definition of what Penumbra Brands is, and in particular, talking about the Gadget Guard products and what those are. Can you kind of give us a rundown of both of those things?
Sure. Yeah, Penumbra Brands, we create innovative solutions to protect mobile devices and the people who use them. Gadget Guard is one of our more familiar brands, and we have a family of screen protectors to protect the front of your phone, and also a line of cases that have an embedded antenna inside to protect you from RF exposure.
And I want to get into talking about those products and definitely some of the different things that they can do to try to mitigate some of those issues. But can we talk about what some of those issues are? So when it comes to cell phones, and radiation, what are the concerns that you have and that you're trying to overcome?
Sure. Well, cell phones emit radiation. That's just how they communicate. They communicate with using RF signals to transmit and receive your data. So there is some concern that this RF radiation, which people commonly refer to as cell phone radiation, could be potentially dangerous to your health. The World Health Organization classifies cell phone radiation as a possible carcinogen, meaning it could be cancer causing. And that's based on studies that show that long-term or heavy cell phone users had increased risks of certain types of brain tumors. But there are other biological effects too, increased risk of male infertility, for example.
I do know, and we've done some studies here too. I know the World Health Organization does have that as possibly. They do also have coffee and I think talcum powder are both on those lists as well when it comes to that. And certainly more study does need to be done. But when we talk about the radio frequencies and some of the different radiation that can come out of these, do you think that this is changing with the newer technology? Are newer phones emitting more? Is 5G more of a concern? Where do you fall along those lines?
Sure. Well, I think people use their devices a lot more these days. So certainly your time of exposure is increasing significantly. And people are carrying their devices on their bodies, like sometimes 24 hours a day. So again, you're increasing the proximity to your exposure, which is not a great thing either. And then you mentioned 5G. That's a whole new range of frequencies that are being brought out. Like currently, like this year, there's a massive rollout of 5G, and people are concerned about millimeter wave 5G in particular because it's brand new frequencies that really haven't been tested for safety and exposure in humans before.
So looking at that and talking about different exposure rates when it comes to that, let's talk about the products themselves and some of the different things that the products can do. Now, you mentioned there's a suite of them, Gadget Guard being one of them. Can you kind of give us an overview of what these are?
Sure. So our cell phone cases are the Gadget Guard cases. They come in two varieties. We have a slim, very soft touch feeling one, and then a more rugged one for people who are concerned about dropping their phones. So we're not just protecting the user, we're protecting the device as well. Inside, as the infographic was showing, there's an antenna that's made of a silver ink, and that antenna couples with your phone's own antenna to redirect the cell phone radiation away from your head and body. So when you've got your phone up next to your head, the Gadget Guard case is drawing the radiation away from your head and towards the back of the phone. So it's significantly reducing up to 75% reduction, reducing your exposure to RF.
Does that have any effect on the reception or the service that the phone gets?
No, so that's one of the unique things about our product. There are other products out there that are sort of brute force shields that put a physical barrier between you and your phone. Our products are different in that they don't shield or block RF because you need that RF for your phone to work or for the communication. So we're really just redistributing it and redirecting it so that it's not going towards your head and it's going out the back.
Do these kinds of products work with virtually all phones or specific types of phones that it can work with?
So currently we have them for most iPhones because they are the most popular phones. We want to reach as many people as possible. So the last iPhone 11, 11 Pro, Pro Max, the iPhone 7, 8, and 10 and 10s. But as demand increases for, like, say, a Galaxy phone, we can certainly apply the same technology to that as well.
Looking forward now, you mentioned the radiation on this, and also that you have a suite of products, some different products that are in there too. Are there other devices that you're working with that would be of concern? Now, I know with 5G, a lot more things are going to be connected. Laptops are going to be connected. Cars will be connected. Are there different kinds of devices and things that you're working on along those lines?
Yeah, so our technology is applicable to any device that's emitting RF. We're currently working on a few solutions for wearables, for example. Like, those are particular concern where you are keeping the device like right next to your body for long periods of time. Those aren't on the market just yet, but hopefully sometime soon in the future.
Well, for everybody out there who wants to learn more too about what you're doing and where they can find more information, where would we direct them to?
So gadgetguard.com is our website. You'll find our Alara products on there. Those are the RF reducing products. And if you're concerned about your screen, we've got screen protectors on there as well.
Great. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live and having this discussion with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so this is what I was talking about. We get to have all kinds of cool discussions about technology and interviews with people in the tech industry, and we're going to continue that going on next. We've got Luke Dormel, our own Mr. Luke Dormel is going to join us to talk about delivery robots. Starship Technologies is one that's been working on that for a long time. No, it's not a Starship, it's a delivery robot, but we're going to discuss some of that because he's got some more inside information about how they navigate. We talked about autonomous vehicles earlier, autonomous wheelchairs. What about autonomous delivery robots? How are we going to get our burritos? That's what I want to know. So this is coming up next. Stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us wherever you are. We do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button. Share the show right now. Stop what you're doing. Share the show. Just hit the share button, whatever platform you're on. Just do that. That'd be great. All right, we get to talk about all kinds of cool stuff on here, and delivery robots are something we have brought up before, and now we have more information on how they work, and that is thanks to our own Mr. Luke Dormel, who is joining us right now to talk about this. Luke, when am I going to get a burrito delivered by a robot?
Depending on where you live, probably sooner than you think. I mean, here in the UK, there is one city where it's already being deployed, Milton Keynes, for anyone who is watching this from the UK. But certainly in the States at the moment, I think more and more cities are starting to trial this technology, and particularly if you're a student, a growing number of universities are really kind of jumping on this technology, particularly when it comes to the rollout of the specific company I focused on in this latest article, which is Starship Technologies, which really was kind of one of the first companies to kind of move into this robot delivery market, which I think is a really fascinating one. And I think in some ways it's kind of interesting because we hear so much about drone deliveries.
Right.
This is something that we've heard about now for a number of years, but there are still problems with drone deliveries. There are kind of, regulatory issues. There's kind of noise pollution issues. There are problems with, the fact that ultimately you're flying something with spinning blades on it, kind of over people's heads, and you're sort of trying to do. There are a number of different challenges, and I think in some ways delivery robots solve that problem. And for anyone who's not seen these things in action before, the model of robot which is being used by companies like Starship Technologies, essentially they kind of look like a kind of robot beer coolers on wheels. And essentially you order the item that you want to be delivered, it then trundles autonomously along to the shop to get it. You pay, I think, about $1.99 as the flat delivery fee. You then specify on a map where you want these things to be dropped. The robot travels to that point. You then use your app to unlock the robot and you retrieve whatever it is that you're hoping to get. So it's a really kind of an interesting solution to the delivery problem. And really my idea with this piece, I've written about them for a while now as they've kind of rolled these robots out around the world. I've kind of covered, I suppose, the underlying technology and what makes it so interesting. But really what I wanted to do with this piece was to kind of delve into the challenge of, on a technological level, sort of how are these things, how do they perceive the world, what are the challenges that the people building them have to kind of face? Because, we talk again about sort of autonomous cars now, you hear a lot about it. We sort of think in some ways, oh, well, the self-driving problem, that's kind of solved in some senses. And really what I wanted to do here was to speak with the people who are developing the algorithms and try and work out, sort of what is taking place on a sort of a technological level when you place an order, and some of the kind of the human challenges that they face in terms of, ultimately building robots which are kind of interacting with members of the public. So that's kind of what the piece was about.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fascinating, and just kind of going back and talking about a couple of points you brought up. With this, you mentioned that it's a lot of universities or campuses, school campuses, where it's being tested out a lot. Why is that specifically that it's being tested out there?
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't spoken to people at every single university that it's being kind of rolled out to. I know that a large part of it is because of the demographic that you're dealing with. You're potentially kind of dealing with students who are looking for sort of 24/7 deliveries. Potentially geographically, some of the terrain that you're dealing with is less complex. You're not necessarily dealing with kind of with sort of busy roads all the time if you're in the middle of a university campus. I think a large part of it is to do with the fact that, again, you're dealing with probably the right target demographic in terms of age, people who are sort of excited about technologies. Ultimately,
right.
If these companies kind of have their way, then this will become sort of, I don't want to say boring technology, but, it will become no more exciting than having, a regular kind of takeout delivered by someone in a car. But I think in the short term, it's still kind of an exciting idea to have something which is delivered by a robot, and that probably is something that appeals very much to kind of people, I guess, of that kind of sort of university student kind of age. So I think that that's, and also I guess because you're dealing on a campus, you have a smaller distance that potentially needs to travel, so maybe it's kind of a more scalable kind of approach than maybe sort of in a big city where there's a radius that they're able to kind of cater to. So I think all of those are kind of reasons why they particularly focused on the sort of the university market for rolling out this technology.
Talking about how it works and diving into that just a little bit, some of that other, the other information that you have for the autonomous side, how is it conducting itself? How is it understanding its environment? Did they go into that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, there are sort of two stages to the project. I mean, there's the routing stage. So when you place your order, they have to kind of figure out autonomously what's going to be the best route to take for the robot, and that's kind of an interesting problem to deal with, because the shortest route isn't necessarily the best route. They're kind of weighing up things like, sort of how many roads is it going to have to cross. They've got to segment maps into sort of all these different areas. So, for example, we take for granted, if we look at a map, that we know how to conduct ourselves on a road versus walking on a sidewalk, or how we behave when we're sort of crossing over someone's kind of driveway. But all of these are things that they kind of have to kind of take into consideration, and they've got to train the robot with different behaviors accordingly. Then when it's actually on the street, it's using that initial kind of routing algorithm, but essentially it's got to then sort of deal with the complexities of the real world. So suddenly it expects that it's not going to see anyone, any vehicles on the pavement. Suddenly there are roadworks on the pavement, and so suddenly it's kind of got to, adapt what it's doing. So it uses a series of onboard cameras. It's got a variety of sensors, but the majority of its ability to navigate is done using image recognition and being able to kind of perceive the world kind of visually around it. And what people can see on their screens at the moment is one of the simplified sort of, it essentially kind of looks at the world, and then it's able to divide it into these kind of simplified kind of geometric shapes to try and kind of gather its bearings. But it's also got to do things like ascertain the width of any particular sidewalk. It's got to, and the part that really interested me, and the reason I think this is such a fascinating story that maybe goes just beyond delivery robots, is that there are so many things that the engineers have to kind of consider. How close can a robot get to you without it being creepy? How fast should these things kind of travel on the pavement so that they're kind of not impeding you, but also they're not, scaring people that they're sort of walking in front of? How do they interact if they come across guide dogs? There are all of these things that we wouldn't necessarily assume that would need to be kind of taken into account. And if you were dealing with cities where there were no pedestrians on the street and it was purely a navigation issue, they wouldn't ever have to deal with them. But there are just all of these kind of complexities, weather conditions, all of these things that they're sort of trying to deal with. So really, again, with this piece, I tried to kind of delve into the granularity of what these algorithms do and sort of how it's making the decisions that it is. And again, I think interesting just in the context of these robots, but also as robots become more and more part of our daily lives, as we kind of maybe work with robots, we see delivery robots on the street, we see robots in other domains. The people that develop them are having to kind of work out how robots have to kind of interact with people in a way that's going to kind of optimize our experience of working with them, and hopefully not harm or freak us out alongside that.
Right. I mean, and just security too. I mean, think about, definitely somebody's going to be kicking these things over, but also, just following one to wherever it's being delivered. If it's just following somebody, it was a vulnerable time of night, it's going to be meeting somebody right there. I mean, there's just, some different issues to work out, but still, it's really fascinating stuff. And I know that, there's always more that goes on, but your piece really goes in depth with it to talk about that a lot more. And I want to encourage everybody to go there to take a look at it. I know we're out of time, but Luke, thank you as always. Definitely appreciate it. I mean, you gave me hope that my burrito delivery will happen sooner than later, and that's really what I wanted, but also to learn about the tech. So thank you, Luke.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot.
All right, so that is Luke Dermel. Again, check out that article at digitaltrends.com. And he has a lot of amazing articles on there. If you like talking about future tech or where tech is going, check all of that out. We've got a great section called Emerging Technologies there at digitaltrends.com, so you can read along with that and follow up with everything that we're talking about. And speaking of that, coming up next, we've got the CEO of Clean Apps, Bogdan Odolinski, who's going to be joining us. And we're going to be talking about how we can keep our phones and our devices clean because of all of those apps that are out there. Some of them are, guess what? They're not always secure. So he's going to talk about that and more coming up right after this. This is Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're on and share the show. Of course, we are live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions. And we've got all of that to talk about right now because we're going to discuss something that is happening for the very first time, and that is a trade organization for app makers. And to do that, we've got the CEO of Clean Apps. We've got Bogdan Odolinsky. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot. By the way, I'm board president.
Board president. Okay, board president. I'll make sure that I've got that in there correctly. So board president, and let's talk about what Clean Apps is and just kind of discuss that.
Sure. So we're a nonprofit trade organization for app makers and app marketers. The reason we created this organization was a whole bunch of us app makers got together and realized we were all facing a common problem, a common trend. And that is that apps are getting really more and more scrutiny by more and more organizations. And it's absolutely critical to create safe apps for consumers if you expect for that app to survive in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. I think for all of us, we hear constantly about different issues that come up with apps where they make it through into different stores. And then, you as on the consumer side of things, where you download one and then it's like, okay, delete that. It sent all your info to everybody. So looking at that from this trade organization or from an organization rather standpoint, what are some of the different ways that you can combat that and also help to maybe alleviate concern of the consumer side of things?
So there's a lot of different aspects to making an app safe. And the best way to think about it is that there is no one element of an app that needs to be safe. The entire journey or customer journey from the ad to the landing page to the store to the behavior of the app itself, as well as the communications that you have with your customers, be it via email or otherwise, all have to be safe. And when I say safe, probably another way to think about it is they have to not appear deceptive. This is maybe another way to think about it. And what that means is that you have, in order to be able to achieve that, you have to assign somebody to actually look at your app, not just your developers. So it's got to be sort of a higher level person that looks at the entire picture.
And somebody kind of maybe from a third party type of situation?
Third party helps a lot, absolutely. So at some point, of course, you want to start on the inside, I think. But eventually, at some point, you want to get an external entity to look at what you're doing, what you have as a product. Absolutely, because only a third party can really give you a sort of an unfiltered look.
Right. Yeah. With there no emotion involved in something that you've been working on for years, and being involved in that. Talking about, I guess I want to get into the organization a little bit more, but something that's very visible that was a failure on that when we talk about the Iowa caucus and just what went on there with that application. Can you speak to that at all and maybe some of the things that they could have done right or some things they did wrong that they really could have avoided?
Well, it's actually really funny. I actually watched that segment, and what was really interesting is that the person that actually provided the information in the interview, you guys did some screenshots of him running his app through VirusTotal. And VirusTotal is actually a very common central place that is used mostly by the antivirus community, by security vendors, to determine and to help basically share malware signatures with each other. Well, actually turns out to actually be an interesting tool to basically reveal some obvious things that maybe you should be looking at. There are other tools. AV Comparatives is actually a company we're working with that actually provides some deeper tools that allows you to have a deeper look at the actual behavior of your app, of the app itself, to see if it's doing anything that might be considered nefarious or deceptive or just questionable in general. That would be one example of a tool that you could use. In terms of third-party organizations, one of our advisory board members, a company called App Esteem, they're one of those third parties that will look at your app really holistically from the download, even the ad, all the way through to how you handle your customers on the phone, for example.
Which that could be of tremendous benefit. If somebody wants to launch an app, I mean, you have to have it right there, as right as possible, right out of the gate. Otherwise, I would think, any kind of negativity that comes out about it would certainly be a big, big detriment, I would imagine, to an app.
Oh no, absolutely. And there's some really simple, obvious things that even require third party or tools. I remember seeing a recent article about a company, I think it was called Duo Security, did a whole thing about all the apps that were in the Chrome extension store. Apparently, 84% of them didn't have a privacy policy.
Wow.
That doesn't mean that the app was deceptive or there was something wrong with the app. It just means that they really, it's kind of it seems like an obvious thing. You should let your customers know what you're collecting and what you're doing with that data. But maybe not everybody knows that that's something that needs to be done. So that's why Clean Apps exists, to help you kind of navigate all the different aspects of what we call compliance.
What is the one most glaring mistake that app makers end up making when they're in development phase?
I would argue that they assume that the developers know to look at everything. And I think that's definitely, because developers are technical. You would think that they're worried about security and all of that stuff. And generally they are, but that's not enough. That's not the whole picture.
Yeah. Talking about the organization too, because I think this is great, for everybody out there who is developing apps, because more and more people are getting into the game and trying to create their own applications. When they join, what step in the process of developing an app should they join Clean Apps?
I would argue they should join Clean Apps as early as possible. Ideally even before they publish their app. As they're creating their app and going through QA at the very latest, in my opinion. Now, if you're already in market, it doesn't hurt to go and have join a community of like-minded organizations that basically have basically experiencing and seeing all these things and addressing them in different ways. So different kinds of apps have different weaknesses or different issues that they need to be focused on. So an extension maker might want to talk to other extension makers in our community versus somebody who's just creating a desktop app wants to talk to other desktop app makers. But yeah, to answer your question, the sooner the better. It's never too late.
Perfect. Well, talking about app makers too, and just the breadth of different ways that Clean Apps is involved. It's not just app makers. It's app marketers. It's everybody else. Can you kind of speak to that broader picture of who else is involved?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about it, so if you recall, I talked about it's about the entire. And there are some app makers that really they're really good at creating apps, but they're not so good at marketing. So they kind of hand that off to either a third-party marketing organization, or they might go through and create some kind of an affiliate program. Well, that's great. So now they have the demand for their app being generated for them, but are those organizations worried about what their what their actions and their behaviors in acquiring those customers, how that's being regarded? Because it's not going to really affect the marketer as much. It's going to affect the app maker, right? Immediately. And eventually the app maker, if they have, let's say, Google accounts or Bing accounts for marketing ads, they might get dinged as maybe bad marketers, right? And that can affect their entire relationship as an advertising agency. So I'm not sure I answered your question.
No, you did. Yeah, no, that's definitely an important aspect of it. One final question I have, since you are clearly so involved with apps and Clean Apps and everything going on, for your phone personally, what is the one app on your phone you could not live without?
Oh my gosh. Email, Outlook.
Outlook. Okay, Outlook is the one. Yep. I had to throw that in there just to ask you. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Steve, for joining us to talk about this and just to direct everybody again where they can go to be involved in the organization. What's the best spot?
Yeah, so cleanapps.org is the website. have a look at some of our blog articles, have a look at what we've been doing, and join the newsletter. There's an inquiry about membership. It's super easy to join. There's really try to provide as little friction as possible.
And get involved early. That is one of the key things that we learned. Well, Bogdan, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so great discussion. They're talking about apps. So anybody out there, I'm sure we have a lot of people who watch the show who are involved in apps in somehow. I mean, who isn't in some way, shape, or form? So that is certainly a great organization to join. All right, we need to take a break. We're going to come back. We've got another edition of Where the F is This live stream? So this is what's going to happen. I'll explain it when we get back here out of the break, and then we'll kind of go into it. But stick around. You are not going to want to miss this. This is something that you're going to be able to play along with, and I'm going to try to defend my undefeated record and see if I can win again at this. But that's coming up next. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. All right, welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us. We like to bring you new different elements and segments here to this show. We tried this one out last week, and it was a success, so we're going to try it again. And here's the deal. This is something that you're going to be able to play along with. So to explain what's going to be happening, it's called Where the F is This live stream? And what's going to happen is a live streamed video from somewhere in the world that is happening right now is going to show up on our screen. And you're going to get to see it. I'm going to get to see it. And the goal is to try to guess where it is. So I will get one guess to start off with, then I'll get a hint, I'll get another guess, another hint, and then I'll get a third and final guess. Now, if I don't get it in those three, I lose. If I do, I win, I'm successful, and that's what we really want. So the thing is, though, you can also join along with this. Nobody wants that. You can join along with us and guess as well. So whatever platform you're on, let's give it a shot. Let's go. I do not agree with that sound at the end. All right, okay, I'm taking a look here right now. So it looks like we've got some kind of, okay, this is a zoo of some kind. I'm gonna guess there's like, what is there, a bear in there or something? This looks like a zoo in China. Okay, I'm getting a hint now. I'm getting a hint. I got to take a closer look at this. There's not even an animal in there. A college mascot in the state known for its tides. Okay, so this is in Alabama. So, okay, is that close enough? Do I have to name the city? Not close enough. I'm told that's not close enough. University. A northern university in a southern state. Oh. Okay. Okay, in Alabama, a northern university in a southern state. What the hell does that mean? Okay, what is a northern university in Alabama? Okay, we got University of Alabama, you got Alabama State, you got Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's not there. A northern university in a southern state. Come on. All right. Damn it. University of Alabama. That's not it. What is the actual answer? I need somebody to tell me. Oh. Northern University. Okay, here's what it is. Northern Alabama. Who even knew there was a University of Northern Alabama? Apologies, Northern Alabama. All right, the George H. Carroll Lion Habitat at the University of Northern Alabama. The first lion was born, it's Leo the lion, was born April 14th, 1973 in Knoxville, Tennessee. The university president, Dr. Robert Gillot, acquired Leo and brought him to University of Northern Alabama. Leo lived in Gillot's garage until the first habitat was completed on campus. He had a lion in his garage. It's psycho. All right, the current cats, Una and Leo III, were born November 18th, 2002. And they were ranked #1 of the 25 best real animal mascots in college football by TotalProSports.com. Really? That's not even a real website. Una was the only non-Division I institution to make the list. All right, not even a Division I school. Come on. Come on. All right, we'll call that one about time. So, all right, there it is. We gave it a shot. Oh, I forgot. I still have to do things after that. All right, so let's go. That's another edition. We'll be doing that every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we'll be doing this. So let's go on to some news stories now, if I can somehow manage to go on after that. I just figured I'd be celebrating my winnings right there, and that was what's going to be happening. All right, let's talk about robots. Let's talk about robots teaching themselves to walk. So here's a study that came out from Google. And this is from researchers actually at Google, and their study that came forward talking about how we can teach robots to interact with real physical environments in quicker ways than they learn currently. So right now, the way it normally works is if you're trying to teach a robot to understand its environment, you do it in a virtual setting, and it does it over and over and over until it learns what is happening, and it can take quite a long time in order to learn how to work. That's the way that algorithms work right now. This is actually speeding that up a little bit, and being able to do that in a different way. So now it is able to actually learn from the environment as it walks through it, so it can figure out different terrain, different types of terrain, different ways that it can interact with it. There's a big study that came out about that. We've got all the details at Digital Trends, but I just wanted to bring it forward, that robots are teaching themselves to walk, and that's really what the biggest concern is right there. I mean, that's good for us all, right? Because they can then interact with their environment in a better way, but you can check that out at digitaltrends.com. All right, one other news story here as we continue through. Let's talk about virtual reality, VR, the promise of it. What does it mean? How can it help our lives? Well, in the medical world, it can actually do quite a bit. So this is a new study that came out talking about how VR is being used to help train doctors in remote areas or third world countries around the world where they don't have access to hospitals or training. There's a lot of places like that where, healthcare is something needed everywhere, but access to actual training and schools can be somewhat limited. And this is a study that's in particular looking at sub-Saharan Africa. And it is coming from Dallas's Southern Methodist University. And what they're doing is using virtual reality to help train people. So these students in these other countries can actually test out and try out being in an actual operating room, performing even ordinary tasks. So talking about ER doctors, like ER doctors who can help handle car accidents. They can study all kinds of things. And right now they've got teams out actually capturing 360-degree videos that include appropriate imagery and protocol for attending to patients. So this is to help people out for medical care and concerns no matter where they're at. Really, really great use of VR, I feel like. And, we've talked about different uses of VR going forward with even like virtual surgery or things like that. That's further out. That's talking about 5G and things like that. This is going a different way for a low-cost measure and a low-cost way that you can train people. So it's pretty cool what they're doing right now. They've been testing this out at a number of different places, and there you go. You can kind of see right there somebody taking a look at a room. Understand you? I don't want to see that, but then just seeing how it all works. I don't like medical shows. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not my thing. But nonetheless, I appreciate how important it is, and that's why for medical doctors and people who are trying to learn in the medical field, this is an important step for that can help them basically, save lives potentially. So it's a pretty cool use of VR. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, we need to go to a break. I need to regroup here because after my loss, it was a little bit tough. It's a tie, actually. We all agreed it was a tie. But we're going to do this. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We've got Goldie Chan, who's going to be joining us. She's the founder at Warm Robots. She's been here on the show before. She's a LinkedIn live broadcaster as well. We're going to talk about coronavirus and different cancellations that are going on and what it's like to be at these things with the threat of coronavirus. So that's coming up next. Stick around back here in a minute for more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler. Appreciate everybody watching on whatever platform you're on. Hit that subscribe button, share the show. It's always a fun thing to do. And what we are talking about is trends in technology, and certainly there's nothing bigger than the coronavirus right now, whether we want it or not. This is a huge issue, and we've talked about all these different conventions and gatherings being canceled, going back to MWC, the Geneva Auto Show, F8, and the list goes on and on and on, but there's one happening right now, and we have somebody reporting directly from there. So we have Goldie Chan, who's been here on the show before, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone. I am here live at Social Media Marketing World 2020. As you can tell, I'm not actually on the show floor right now because it would be quite loud, but I'm here safely ensconced into my hotel room.
What has it been like? So this is one, with you see so many different ones that are getting canceled. I guess to give everybody kind of an idea too of what social media marketing world is, that would probably be good to get an overview of that. And then I just want to talk about what it's like being at this right now with all of these other conventions getting canceled.
Sure. So Social Media Marketing World is really a convention for marketers, but a lot of tech folks are here, right? So people who would normally be going to other conventions that are recently canceled, for example, Adobe Summit just was canceled, like you said, F8, all of these other conventions. And of course, we're all waiting with bated breath to hear about South by Southwest. So that is, that is a quick overview of Social Media Marketing World. But yes, we are here right now. Quite a bit of people have still, come and they're attending. And so there hasn't been a ton of cancellations for this particular event. I also wonder if location is part of it, since we are in gorgeous, sunny San Diego that has been so far coronavirus free.
That is true too. So coronavirus free in San Diego. What's been the temperament actually of people down there? Are there different steps that Social Media Marketing World, I guess, but temperament number one, but also are there different steps that Social Media Marketing World is doing to, kind of address that issue that's out there, the coronavirus? Is there more hand sanitizer around or different stipulations that they're putting on things?
So definitely there's more hand sanitizer around, definitely more people carrying their, little mini Purell bottles around in Pureling everything. And it's been interesting to see the audience response as well and the speaker response, because as you know, a lot of times people go up afterwards and they want to shake the hand of the speaker. And that's been a little bit more of a no-no, because that is the most direct way you could transfer a virus or the flu, is by doing a handshake. So there's been, as I'm sure lots of people have seen, hilarious memes about things that you can do alternatively, like a foot tap, an elbow tap, just not touching each other in general. So there's lots of substitutions I think are happening on the spot. And I think there's quite a bit of people here, understandably so, who are quite nervous about what is happening in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it is just crazy. I mean, every single day it's something new, something changing with this. And I think we're all just kind of going along with it, you know, as far as whatever's going to happen. Looking at it from that, you know, talking about other events going forward, you know, this is one that continued on. Are there other ones that haven't canceled, I guess, that you can think of off the top of your head? Or is it all just seeming like this is going to be where we're going to be going?
Well, like I said before, we are all waiting to see what happens with South by Southwest this year. I personally hope that they don't cancel, because it's literally in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it would be a huge pain point for a lot of folks who have planned since November, December, or even earlier than that to really be present and have an activation. So, you know, Twitter and Facebook both already pulled out. And so there is a huge concern that South by Southwest will not go on as planned. But we have so many large conferences that everyone said would never be canceled, and they were canceled. So.
Yeah, it's just crazy how it's all happening. I mean, and I'll just say this as an aside, literally while we were on the air, I got a cancellation for a thing I was going to be going to in Chicago that was canceled because of the threat of coronavirus. So it's happening like so quickly. Well, talking about just this event, I mean, since the event is going on, is there anything you'd like to share with people as far as what's happening at the event, since you're actually getting to participate in it, that you'd like people to know about?
Sure. So, well, this event itself is super fun. You get a lot of marketers in one room talking about digital trends. So, trends on social media platforms, I feel like very aligned, very aligned with literally the show that I'm on right now. So lots of fun discussions about what's happening, but I think that there is a lot of very interesting and just starting discussions on, okay, what happens if we have to work remote, right? Which is such an integral part of being part of this tech-based society and being somebody who works in tech. So literally right now, I love this, we're on a remote show, technically.
Yep.
So there's so many things that you could do, put in place, and I'm sure you've seen this. We're literally on Zoom right now, and Zoom stock has been going through the roof.
That makes sense, actually. I didn't even think about that being a part of it. Well, and I think, and you know, another trend too, because Google, I know for I can't remember the exact name of it, Cloud Next or Nextcloud, whatever their one is that they were going to be having. That's actually going to be all virtual now. I saw that that's where they're moving. So do you think that could be a trend with a lot of these companies, is just switching from that in-person meeting and going to that full time, or is this more of just kind of a Band-Aid for the situation right now?
I feel like it's definitely a Band-Aid for the situation right now. So of course we have Adobe Summit. I'm a huge Adobe fangirl / ambassador for them, so it makes sense. But they've switched from being an in-person summit to a virtual summit. And I think a lot of brands, and it's actually quite fascinating that F8 didn't do that, right? Mm-hmm. That they just canceled it completely. But this is, to me, such a beautiful opportunity for all of these brands to show off their remote software products, because most of them, especially the major brands, have some form of remote software that they could be showcasing during this time. So that to me is the opportunity.
look at the opportunity from there to see what you can do. Well, Goldie, I want to say thank you very much for joining us too from the event and having some time to actually talk to us about it. And for everybody who isn't following you currently, where should we direct them?
So you can always follow me on LinkedIn. You'll see the link right below. And you can also find me on Twitter at Goldie Chan, where I talk a little bit here and there about relevant coronavirus news shared from scientists.
Nice. Yes, that is so key. There's so much bad information that is out there right now. So yeah.
Yes. So let's share what scientists say about coronavirus, and let's not have a media frenzy over, what may or may not be accurate.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Go to the scientists. Well, Goldie, thank you so much for joining us here today.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, and thank you to everybody who's joining us, wherever you're watching. But yeah, that is Goldie Chen. So at an actual event that's still going on, and we'll have to see. These things are canceling left and right. Like, it's constantly developing, and we'll keep you up to date as much as we can at digitaltrends.com. But there is just, it's always changing. I mean, even through this show, things were getting canceled and changed, and that's just within 90 minutes of the day. So follow along at Digital Trends. On Digital Trends Live tomorrow, we've got Shreven Podagunta, CEO and founder of Go360, will be joining the show. We talked about Go360 late last week as they announced a new ride-sharing service where it's only employee drivers and using only electric vehicles. So it'll be great to hear their growth and expansion plans as they want to compete with Uber and Lyft. So we'll talk about what they're going to be doing. And it's Wednesday, and that means it's TBD with Jess Serba. Adrian's going to be out, but she'll be here to bring us the convergence of tech and pop culture. And tomorrow's topic, I'm not supposed to know about it, but it's conspiracy theories on YouTube. So I'm just going to say that's what it is. So how you can tell fact from fiction. So we're going to be talking about that on TBD. You can tune in at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, wherever you consume content. Make sure to subscribe and follow us to get notified when we go live, and we really do appreciate each and every one of you. So seriously, thank you for joining us. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll certainly address that too as we go through the show. For Digital Trends, I'm Greg Nibbler, and I'll see you right back here